So good morning. We're here ready today with CJ, and I'm very honored and very happy to have you here with me today for a very interesting hour and conversation that we're gonna have with you. And so it's all about very interesting topic that we're gonna talk today, especially sleep, recovery, and anti-aging. So there's a lot that maybe you guys also might be interested in hearing. But first of all, I wanna just let CJ introduce yourself, and thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure. Every time I get a chance to hang out with you, it's always exciting. We are always talking about new information, sharing a lot of knowledge. So thank you really for inviting me here. And my name is CJ. I have been named a biohacker in Dubai. That's something that I resonate with. So for anyone who's listening, biohacking is the art and science of using tools, technologies, nutrition, ancient principles, anything that you can do to create a positive change in your life. A lot of the times people think it's gene editing and doing all these fancy things. No, some of the ancient principles that have been with us for thousands of years, those are also considered to be biohacking because it works. So yes. I'm a curious soul. I experiment with different things. I love reading. I love talking to smart people like yourself. And just sharing all of that. That's a quick introduction.
Absolutely, I really love that, and actually appreciate the fact that you're actually shedding the light on clarifying a bit what the word biohacking means, because I think that no matter there's a bit more and more awareness, of course, nowadays in healthcare and health approaches, still, as you say, there might be a bit of misconception of biohacking in the word as itself, and some people might still consider it necessarily strictly related to technology, machines, devices that help you to enhance your performance or whatever, boost your cognition or improve your general status, but it's not necessarily devices, right? It's not necessarily technological applications that we can have on our body. So I wanna really take a moment on this and maybe know also how you personally approach this conversation, because CJ, you have your own biohacking company. So of course there's a vast multitude of devices that you are actually really giving the chance here in the UAE to spread the knowledge and the sales to both corporate but private clients as well. So this is beautiful, and we're going to go into that in a bit. But also outside these devices, like what is it biohacking? Why do you say it's also related to implementing our upgrading our life through nature? Why is it?
So to put it simply, if we could go back and live in accordance with the laws of the nature, then we wouldn't be needing any biohacking. Biohacking comes in mostly, like let's say if we take the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, the 80% of the biohacking is coming in because we are in what I call an ancestral mismatch. We are in like a room like this, which looks like a box. We go to the office, we're in a box. We're never exposed to so much of lighting. We're eating from processed and packaged foods. We don't interact with the soil. So there are all these things which with evolution, which is millions of years. So I want everyone to understand that humans are at the top of the evolutionary chain. And it is not by accident. It took a lot of hard work. Our great ancestors have to go through a lot for us to be at this point where we're dominating the world, unfortunately. But again, we are at the highest of our cognitive features. But when you see in the world today, it doesn't look like that. There's depression, there's suicide, people are, stealing, killing from each other. I don't think this looks like being on the top of the evolutionary scale, which is a very big privilege. Why this has happened is because a lot of people have disconnected from what we were doing for millions of years. So for millions of years we were moving. Now we're sitting down. Sitting down is even more dangerous than smoking. So it's compared to smoking, and that's crazy, because even if someone says I go to the gym every day, they might be getting up, going to the gym for 1 hour, but they're sitting for the 8 to 10 hours. and that's not how we were intended to be. When we're eating from all of these fast food restaurants, or we're eating with a lot of vegetable oils, all these things, nutrition is a big topic by itself. But let's just take a zoom out view. When we talk about eating, even the most healthiest food these days is contaminated with herbicides, pesticides, macroplastic, microplastic, all of these things, right? We go into the silly part. In nature, every animal has or every living organism has a point where they do a lot of the work that's needed for survival, hunting, making sure their kids or their puppies or babies or whatever are okay. And then they rest. Yeah. These days, humans have forgot to do that because we are in this achievement orientation society, and we are following this pop culture of always going out there and getting something, and there's never enough, right? Most of the people have forgotten that if you have a roof on your head, if you are eating something right, if you're getting to kind of share happy moments with your friends or family, that is a sign of being enough. But for most people, it's not enough. So what are they doing? They're pushing. They finish a presentation. Okay, 6 p.m. They'll do another one till they're pushing themselves till like 1 or 2. It could be work related. It could be entertainment related. Doesn't matter. But they're actually defying laws of nature, where nature has told you to make sure that in the night when the sun goes down and in a decent time, you should get enough sleep. But we're not doing that. Because of that, we are getting psychological issues. We are gaining weight. Because of that, we're having metabolic issues. Because of that, all other aspects of our biology gets damaged. So the modern way to look at things, which the modern science also looks at, is looking at everything and dissecting it in an individual component. But when you look at the miracle and the grand miracle of life, nothing can be dissected into something small. Everything is interconnected. So if you don't sleep well, you're going to suffer your health. You're going to lose hair. You're going to gain weight. If you work too much and don't rest, or you eat crappy food, you're not going to be able to sleep well. So it's all connected. The way you even act in front of the society, your opinions about the world, your opinions about yourself is all influenced by invisible factors that are going around you. And biohacking, in a way, is an attempt to understand the material things, the immaterial things, the visible things, the invisible things, because even right now in a room like this, we have crazy blue light that's going in our eyes. There is mics which are creating an EMF radiation. All of these things we cannot see.
I promise that the next podcast we're going to have it on a beach, right?
Yeah, or on the mountain when the vibe becomes better. So what I'm trying to say is there are so many of these invisible factors that don't allow us to be the best version of ourselves.
So really, really thank you for that. And let's say, long story short, how we can define biohacking, and then prove me wrong if it's not correct. We can say that biohacking is basically trying to hack the current status that we're living in nowadays, right? Because maybe exactly how we, what is the type of society we live in, the pace we live in, the type of restriction that we live, because we are more exposed to toxins, more exposed to closed environments, and pollution, and all of this is making us more distant from our original natural state. So maybe biohacking is about going back to our original state. So how do we do that then? Now, we have maybe two main sort of ways where, again, technically, originally speaking, the best thing is just to try to recover our own connection to nature. So how do we do that? Of course, we have many natural ways of, quote unquote, hack ourselves, which is, again, trying to expose ourselves more to sunlight, especially at sunrise and sunset, trying to expose ourselves to hot and cold therapies, just because we have to maybe regenerate and recalibrate our own stressor response to the original status. We have to have a clean sleeping routine. We have to be able to really breathe fresh oxygen, breathe fresh air, move our bodies naturally into nature. So these are maybe the most common type of biohacking that we can say are good daily remedies that we have to apply to ourselves in order to just function better and make sure that we have our own system in check. So this is one, and then maybe this is why also you might say, okay, there's so much of more of a hype also nowadays of everything that has to be that has to do with ice baths and I don't know, sauna and cryotherapies. And why is that? So this is maybe one of those tools that we can also connect to the word biohacking.
Yeah. That's the technology front.
Exactly.
So the first thing that you define is how you can go back to how we would feel like 100 years ago. You know, we were never in like air-conditioned rooms, so you would be feeling hot. We live in Dubai, it's really hot outside. Sometimes when you go into European weathers, it could be really cold. So the body is constantly not in a state of comfort, but in a state of micro challenges. Now, when it comes to science, we call this principle hormetic stressors, which means for people who are listening, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Which means a little bit of cold, a little bit of hot, a little bit of fasting, a little bit of calorie restriction, just a little bit. When you get to that Goldilocks zone where it's not too much and not too less, that's a positive stress signal for your body to become strong. Now, we have 37 trillion cells in our body. Each cell is going over 1 million reactions per second. That's a lot of craziness that's happening in our body, and that's a very big deal. We kind of take our bodies for granted and not as granted. And this is one of the biggest mistakes I see a lot of people doing, because they think whatever they do to their body will be fine. Of course, this works when you're younger, but as you get older, your body starts aging and it starts losing all of these superpowers that you had when you were young. And people still start abusing it. Not sleeping, not eating right, overexposure to toxins, drinking too much alcohol, smoking so much. We all know it's bad for us, but we still do it, right? Because most people think other people die and they don't realize that they're killing themselves. When they think of themselves, they think, oh yeah, whatever, nothing's going to happen to me. Now, the other side of it, if you cannot go outside, we're all busy, yeah. A lot of people don't have time to wake up in the morning and watch the sunrise. A lot of people don't have time. In Dubai, we don't have cold climates. So what do you do in a thing like this? This is where the hacking mentality comes in, where a computer hacker, the way the term originated, you're running a software or a piece of equipment, let's say Microsoft, and you know that this software is capable of so much more. But the operator, Microsoft, doesn't allow you to access certain features. So you take the back door, you hack into something, and you advance the features because you know it's able to do it. And that's how biohacking on all these technologies are. You mentioned red light therapy. First thing in the morning, first thing in the evening, a lot of people are either sleeping or they're in traffic. They're not able to absorb the natural lights, which are considered to be a healing frequency of light. They consider of two lights mainly. One is a red light at 660 nanometers and one is a near infrared light at 850 nanometers. Only at 5 to 7 minutes first thing in the morning you'll have this light when the sky turns orange and pink. I was blessed enough to travel a lot, meet a lot of cultures, and in every culture they're saying if you want to live for a long time, watch sunrise and watch sunset, not from your iPhone. It might look better. Go outside, feel it. But with the modern life, of course, I cannot most of the times, where, we have different priorities and we have to do things. But that's where biohacking comes in. Can you keep a red light panel first thing when you wake up and get 5 minutes of that same red light? Again, we are trying to mimic the nature. Red light is there. It's just not convenient for you. So let's bring the red light therapy home. Maybe grounding is not convenient for you. Why don't we bring a grounding mat where you're working? Maybe ice bath, like you said, ice bath. Being cold is not convenient. Let's do a cryo chamber. Let's do an ice bath. So we're actually just looking at what's already there, because remember this, the human brain and the human body, we always function with the amount of data that we have. So anything that has come into your life is because of the impressions that you have gathered from your friends, family, books, whatever. And only because of that data, you're able to create something new. So we were able to speak. Now we created the microphone. We were able to see. So we created the telescope. Of course, our ambitions is to go a long way. But we only have created things from what was already present. So it's not like we discovered a lot of things. Is basically when we wanted to kind of like speak to a large audience, it's, you know, you could shout, but because you can shout and your voice reaches a lot of people, the idea of a speaker comes in.
Yeah.
Because you can communicate, radio waves come in. So we're always looking at what is already existing, and biohacking is similar.
Yeah.
We're just looking at what was there. Let's create a device.
Exactly, very beautiful. Let's say we sort of detached ourselves a bit from nature, but through biohacking, we're bringing nature to ourselves back again, thanks to technological advancement, thanks to all these devices. So this is beautiful. And what would you say I want to stop here on this topic just a bit before we go into our bullet points. What would you say are the devices that are nowadays more requested from your customers, and what are the devices that you actually use the most?
So, in terms of, let's just talk about the benefits. Okay, everyone wants to look young. Everyone wants to be beautiful. Everyone wants to lose weight. And some people are struggling with sleep. Okay, so when we look at our devices, a lot of the demand that we receive for is our full spectrum infrared saunas, because it helps with detox, it helps with weight loss, it helps you relax, it helps anti-age, fits all of those categories. Then we receive a lot of demand for our ice baths. So we have 3 different kind of ice baths. And again, this is because of social media influence, because I have an ice bath. Every time I step into it, I would almost do it every day. But like every time I step into it, I don't want to do it. So there's this inherent feeling, no one loves doing an ice bath. You love how you feel later.
Afterwards, exactly. It's like a workout.
Exactly. So according to Dr. Andrew Huberman from Stanford, he says that you can get a 400% increase in dopamine, which is a reward pathway in your brain. It's a neurochemical, and it gives you pleasure. It gets rid of pain. It gets you more motivated, it gets you more confident, and it gives you more energy in anything that you're doing. A lot of the times, the way coffee works is A, the caffeine, but B, the caffeine triggers dopamine in our brain. So this dopamine is something that, you know, we're always looking for.
Yeah.
That's one reason you go for the ice bath. So we get a lot of demand for that.
And it's better to go for an ice bath to stimulate dopamine rather than going for smoking or alcohol addiction or cocaine, exactly, which is always activating the same neurotransmitter but in different ways. So if we're able to find solutions such as ice baths where we activate this dopamine production from the inside out as opposed to from the outside in, then I think it's the best way.
And it's also really good for anti-aging. So a lot of beauty pathways get triggered with an ice bath. A lot of fat loss mechanisms get triggered. So believe it or not, we have different kind of fats in our body. So we have our visceral fat, okay? And then we have something called as white fat, beige fat, and brown fat. Brown fat is a kind of fat that actually burns the other problematic fats. And when you enter the ice bath, there is a process where you increase your brown fat, or they call it brown adipose tissue, which means after the ice bath, you will actually be burning in your own fat stores. So a lot of people get really lean after doing a lot of ice bath, and that's people like that as well, because you didn't have to go to the gym. You have to be mentally a little bit strong, but you got a high from it. So the reward is instantaneous. Again, with the sauna is the same thing.
Exactly. Infrared sauna as well is proven to increase our TF, our thermic effect of the body. So it equals a certain session now. I'm not sure about how often, but having like sauna consistently on a recurrent level on a weekly basis, 5 to 6 times per week is really almost equating to a workout. So
you burn around the
so.
same amount of calories, but with a full spectrum infrared sauna, you can be there for like 30 minutes. You can have a Netflix show outside or listen to a podcast, and you can actually be more functional. And it's great because recently I tore my MCL and I was injured. I couldn't walk. I couldn't go to the gym because of the physical limitations, but I could sit in the sauna, and that enhanced my recovery. It was interesting because I was reading books inside, and it was every minute of time which was effortless, and I got something back, whether it's education, whether I took a phone call, whether I was watching a Netflix documentary. But again, infrared sauna, that's a good thing. You can actually get every minute back, which a lot of people want, because we see a lot of people right now will complain about one thing, that they don't have enough time. So anything that you can do to give some time back to them, they get very happy. And beauty is one more thing. We have a lot of requests for our beauty mask, and we have looked at the current statistics of the beauty market and the growth, and we are heavily investing in research, innovation, product development in the beauty sphere, because we know a lot of those, there is a need for it. So we're actually going and feeding a hungry audience. A lot of people are into, it was traditionally only women. Now a lot of the men are also looking for devices. So this is something that we're really excited about, because it's sometimes difficult to explain the average person what biohacking is, but the moment you use the term beauty, everyone wants to get it. They don't care how and what it does. As long as you can make someone beautiful, they'll take it.
And what about anti-aging then?
Yeah, so all of these things, with my company Biohacking, whatever we do, the premise of everything that we have researched, everything that we have created starts from longevity. So we never wanted to make people recover faster, or we never wanted to get people a detox or the dopamine boost. Those are side effects of what we do. But our premise is always anything that we create, even with the beauty, because it triggers red light triggers mitochondria triggers energy production. So eventually it will always be triggered towards longevity. Nowadays there's more and more talks of longevity. If we look at the current market scenario, the global market for anti-aging and longevity sits at $246 billion US. So it's a huge market. So a lot of people are listening to longevity now. When we started, no one was interested in longevity and biohacking, but I see a lot of people interested now. So our premise is longevity, and anything that you can get on top is a benefit.
Yes, amazing. All right, so I want to talk now about one of the major concerns that we might have nowadays that I feel is very common between the people that I talk to, my own clients, my own social circle of friends and family, but also what I hear in terms of general numbers nowadays. So people suffering from chronic fatigue. What is your view on that? Even just in the States, 5 million of people are suffering from chronic fatigue nowadays. It's a huge concern. It's been growing, and how is it possible we have, all this ease of life on one way, and at the same time we are less able to pinpoint and understand why people are suffering from such conditions, despite maybe living a healthier life and being more exposed to certain privileges. So it definitely means that there is some dysfunction at the mitochondrial level. Just to mention what you were talking before, again, mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell, so they are the ones responsible for the ATP production in our body, and we have a certain amount of mitochondria in our body, but again, we can actually stimulate the production of more mitochondria that makes us more resistant and resilient to developing stressors, and so here it comes when, okay, how can we understand when we are developing chronic fatigue, and why are people nowadays experiencing such?
Great question. And it's good that it's coming from your social circle, because I know you have a very big social circle. You're blessed that way. So I want to dissect this question into three parts, or three ways of looking at it. Let's start with the mitochondria piece. 90% of all chronic fatigue disorders are mitochondrial dysfunctions, which means she beautifully explained what mitochondria are. They're these organelles within every cell. Some of our cells, like our eye cells, have 10,000 mitochondria per cell. Some of our heart cells have 50,000 mitochondria per cell, so it differs. Imagine this. You have a car, okay? When you're born, you get like a new car, so you are vibrant in energy. You're able to even metabolize alcohol in your 20s. And then as you go into your 30s and 40s, things start slowing down. It's just the car analogy. The car starts getting old, it keeps breaking down, and you need to fix it, okay? Different parts of the car. One of the main things is like the engine, and the engine of the car is our mitochondria. Now, if you engage in behaviors which are you're sedentary all the time, you're not stressing them out with the sauna or an ice bath, you're not stimulating them with some of the compounds. There are many compounds out there, some available in nature, like sterostatabine, NAD+, all these, and we can go into it in detail, but all of these compounds that actually trigger a process called mitochondrial biogenesis. Complicated word. All it means is that it sends a signal to the mitochondria that, hey, if you can't perform at this level, if you're not able to take that ice bath, then we're going to trigger a process where you will die and we will create new mitochondria. This is like changing the engine oil for your car. This is like getting a new engine, because if your like trillions of cells are all mitochondria, imagine you start changing them. Okay, what happens in chronic fatigue syndrome is that you have these dysfunctional mitochondria, and because of that, you don't have any energy. So I can tell you, like, Chiara, I'm really, really tired and I'm brain fogged and I can't do much. And you tell me, like, as a nutrition and a health expert, tell me, why don't you go to the gym, CJ? Go to the gym. And now I try to go to the gym, but I don't have the physical energy. Maybe I haven't done exactly. So I look at myself as a failure, because I can see everyone's going to the gym, but I cannot. It's not that I don't want to. Physically, there's this huge chatter of organelles in my head saying that, CJ, you're not going to be able to do it. So it's my one thought process fighting against trillions of these mitochondria, which are alive and they're actually communicating with us, because they're not able to take the gym pain, because we have exhausted them so much. It's like your car, just, the engine analogy. Your car is just like, the engine is revving up, it gases are out, or every part's breaking. Even if you try to accelerate, like, you're going to burn down. That's exactly what chronic fatigue syndrome is. People are not taking care of themselves so much. If you take care of yourself very later in life, of course you can reverse it, but if you've reached the chronic fatigue syndrome, then there are many other tools around it as well. The other thing I want to offer the audience is, so University of Minnesota did a study where they said that an individual takes 35,000 decisions per day. That's a lot of decisions. With every decision, you lose energy in your brain. Our brain is 2% of our body weight, consumes 20% of all the energy. Every time you make decision, you're actually grabbing a lot of energy. It could be small decisions. Hey, what shoes can I wear today? Hey, should I sit on the left side couch or the right side couch? These are all micro decisions. You don't think of them much, but at the end of the day, it compounds so much that it's grabbing a lot of energy and resources from your brain. And then you feed in deep fried stuff, you're not sleeping enough, you're smoking, inflammation is really high, your gut,
You're not moving.
Exactly, your gut microbiome is distorted, and then this goes on a vicious cycle. So I think a lot of people they're using their brain much more than they think. And once you bring in social media, if you scroll on Instagram for a minute, you scroll through 90 feet of information. If we had to say that on an average, everyone's screen time is 6 hours to 11 hours, let's say.
Yeah.
On the lower end is 6 hours, on the high end is 11 to 12 hours. Can you just imagine, in 5 minutes, you're going over 450 feet of information. It's crazy. all of that information is going to your brain. Your brain is evolutionary, not designed to process that information. And it's basically you putting the engine outside and revving it all the time and not giving it enough time to rest. It's going to blow up. Yes. So that's what's happening. For most people, the fatigue starts in their brain and then it spreads to the rest of the body. Because what else is in our brain? Our HPA axis, hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. Hypothalamus is a part of the brain that associates with memory formation, working memory, a lot of these things. Pituitary is where you're going to be releasing a lot of hormones, stress hormones. I want to eat all the time, I'm lazy, I'm tired. All of these are actually an interplay of hormones. Yes. It's released from the pituitary. Then it goes to your adrenal axis. Your adrenals are making more of the stress hormones. So you feel stress all the time. And now your body chemistry is in a disaster mode. And what happens when your body chemistry is always in a disaster mode? Yeah. You get into a disaster mode. For these days, we have another, for men, is HPA and then G, gonadal axis. So testosterone is going down, libido is going down because of that, dopamine is going down. You're not interested to do anything apart from playing video games. Yeah. And it doesn't help that the whole engine of the economy is trying to get you hooked onto something, whether it's sports, whether it's the politics, whether it's the news. You are driven into getting exposed to information that's going to get you hooked, that's going to fry up your neural circuits. Think about it this way. Our brain gets, in a second, we'll have like around 11 million bits of information. Do you want to take a wild guess how much our brain can process? Mm-hmm. It's about 30. 11 million bits per second just without even looking at social media. It's just the advertising, the marketing, the lights, the sound. Your body is processing information which is invisible to you. Yes. The EMFs is all going to make you tired, unless, I wouldn't even say go the biohacking way. Be more conscious. Know that these things exist. Yeah. And don't drive through life with, when sometimes you're driving through the road and you're going somewhere, but you like end up somewhere and you're like, wow, how did I get there? And there were so many things on my mind. So even when you were doing like a risk-taking activity, there could be a lot of things in your mind. You might be unconscious. Don't navigate life unconsciously. Mm-hmm. Take a step back. Take a deep breath. Ask yourself, okay, in a lot of traditional Eastern philosophies, we're taught your life is your karma. That means your life is your action. That means every action that you take will have a consequence. Whether you like this consequence or you don't like this consequence, that's the different thing. But the awareness that every action that you're taking, looking at the phone, not choosing the right food, not switching off the Wi-Fi at night, all of these things will have consequences on your body. And those consequences can manifest in fertility issues, it could manifest in injuries, it could manifest in some of these chronic fatigue syndromes. So what I would like to offer people is be more conscious, okay? Information is so...
Step into awareness.
Exactly.
And then after that...
and then look at things. There are so many things out there. Kiara, it's so difficult to keep hands on information right now because information is exploding. Yeah. Until World War II, it used to take us 100 years. There's a theory called the double information curve theory, which says that until World War II, it took us 100 years to double human information. So if as a collective consciousness, we knew something which is in textbooks and on the internet, whatever, it takes 100 years for us to kind of like double that up. Medical science with AI, even before AI, we are doubling every information that I have on health, mental health, psychology, whatever, every 73 days. It's exploding. And there are people out there, like people like yourself, people who are around, books, AI. I would highly encourage people is like, your life is, again, the consequence of the action you take. One of the actions you can take is being aware and reading about it, talking to someone, looking at an expert, getting a book. it's not going to happen. Don't wait for things to happen. You have to take a step towards your progress, and your progress will take 10 steps towards you, but you have to take that step.
Yes, absolutely beautiful. So exactly, going back to chronic fatigue, we can say that we have basically 5 major things to look at that can affect chronic fatigue. One is brain regulation, the other one is gut regulation, then we have blood sugar regulation as well, and then we have hormonal balance, and the other one can be
mitochondrial dysfunction.
Exactly,
overall, yeah.
Exactly. Or
And there's so many things. There's
rhythm.
EMF as well. So like this is what a lot of people don't know about. EMF are all over the place, but every time you are, even right now, we're into this space where there's some sort of a signal exchange. Our bodies are not used to it. Like the maximum amount of signals our body are used to is going next to a mountain because they vibrate on a different frequency, going next to a tree, but these are natural biofields. Anything that's come up in the last 100, 200, 300, 500 years, our bodies don't know how to process it. And with EMFs, it basically, let me give you an analogy. In every cell of ours, we have something called as VGCCs, voltage gated calcium channels. And every time there's a signal, whether from your phone or from these cameras, these voltage gated calcium channels open up, and it drives about 1 million influx of calcium molecules within the cell. Now, sodium and magnesium can be around inside the cell. Calcium has to always be outside the cell. That's how it's meant to be. The moment you drive calcium into the cell, then the cell goes into an effect called excitotoxicity, which means it gets excited and it dies. This is why every time you finish an airplane travel, you land, it'll be very difficult for you to remember a lot of things. It's not just because of the jet lag. It's actually all of our body has this voltage-gated calcium channels. It's the drive and influx of calcium that's flooded into the cell, and then some of the cells are either died or like close to dying, or become senescent, which is another concept. Senescent is where for all the audience, think of like all of our cells. They have a life cycle, and they're supposed to die. When you do fasting, when you do calorie restriction, when you do red light therapy, you enhance this process faster, so the waste removal is fast.
Exactly.
But sometimes there are these cells that just sit there, they don't do anything. They're like
they're not expelled, yeah.
And they're heavy on the body. It's like, if I take you to the ocean and I put like a huge backpack on you, and that's not giving you any benefit.
You're not gonna float. You're gonna
Exactly.
sink. Exactly.
So that's what senescent cells do, and because of this EMF, senescent cells also get activated. The other thing which I see a lot, I have been very guilty of this, and because I wasn't aware. Now, one of the things that I'm looking out for is all of these workout clothes that we have is damaging our health. It's made with polyester and polylycra fabrics, and all of these, every second they're releasing a lot of nanoplastic and microplastics within our body.
Exactly.
If you put heat on it, like you're going to the gym and you're sweating or you're running outside, is going to be worst. If you put it in your washing machine, this is going to be the most disastrous thing. But all of us are going through those disasters every day, including me. Even I cannot just completely change my wardrobe because there are so many elements of it, and even if I do, the washing machine has it. It's everywhere. Some of the things you cannot stop. You can be conscious about it.
Drinking water from a plastic bottle.
Exactly.
Of course.
They say that we have like a card of plastic every month, like literally a credit card size plastic, just in our body, and we don't detox well. We don't fast. We don't go on to these detox therapies. All of those things were really encouraged. Fasting was really encouraged right from all the traditions. Like you go anywhere in the world, there are periods of time where people won't eat because they know that eating all the time is not good for you. You need to give your body a certain amount of break. What do we do these days? We're always eating. Yeah. We're blessed to be in this society where you can just tap an app, and within like 30 minutes, you'll have the calories for the entire week arriving in a small bag. This was a dream, like when we
could not even conceive it.
Yeah. But now it's, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
We have been given a lot of great powers. If we are aware enough, we can use that to our advantage. So I always see like, EMFs. The carpet that we have, is in front of us. I'm sure this is releasing tons of volatile organic compounds. It's everywhere. I don't want to scare people, but I want to tell people that, hey guys, in every aspect of your life, there is a solution which you can research. I would encourage people to do their own research or get in touch with Kiara because she knows so much. And then just ask yourself, is there a better way of doing it? You have 2 pizzas in front of you, both are looking crazy. One has like 10 times the amount of cheese. You have only 2 options. Ask yourself, which one's better? You're not going to find the best thing. There's no best thing in life. Life is full of imperfections, and that's the beauty of life.
Yes.
But at any very given moment, you have the choice to choose. So choose the better option in the moment. Don't just give up.
Yeah. So when it comes to people and understanding how they can actually improve their energy levels, what is it that you would suggest them?
Movement, for sure. You don't have to go to the gym. Research shows us that if you walk for 20 minutes,
Yes.
your mitochondria gets activated.
This is very nice that you're saying that, because maybe very often people think that, okay, moving is just about hitting to the gym, going for crazy workout, really exhausting their bodies, but this is not necessarily the solution, especially for people that are experiencing chronic fatigue, for example. So maybe easier, milder solutions that are not too stressful for our hormones, for our mental capacity, are the best way to actually start activating.
And honestly, like, those things have their space, but again, if a little bit of something is good, a lot of that thing is not better. You have to be in the Goldilocks zone. Goldilocks zone is where nature operates, where the stars are operating, where the planet is operating, where the sun is operating. Few centimeters, few inches, few energy particles, and then life doesn't exist. Your body is the same. Move a little bit, do hard things once in a while. When it comes to food, I want to keep it super simple. Just ask yourself that, does this food directly come from nature? So if you're on the vegan diet, where are your fruits and vegetables coming from? If you are on a carnivore or something, don't get something which is highly processed.
Yeah.
If it's available in nature, you have evolutionary memory to process that information.
Yes.
Like, for example, each and every cell of ours has more memory than our brain. They're like different kinds of memories. But it's the same memory. If I give person X a dog food, that person X will not become the dog, because the body knows it has genetic memory, it has evolutionary memory, it has so many different memories. So it also has the memory of how real food is. It doesn't really have the memory what was invented last year in a factory. So give your body all the information and the things that it knows how to deal with.
Yes. I heard a beautiful definition the other day on a podcast. I think it was literally saying this: eat anything, the way you have to consider, the way you have to consider what you eat is about how recently it was either swimming, growing, or moving on the planet. So how recently was that? So the most recent it is, then the better it is for us to have that food. So let's say, I don't know, we're going to the supermarket and we see a potato chip or a boiled potato, then of course we rather go for the boiled potato, because the process from when it was taken from the ground to when we have the finished product is just more recent. So if we can cut this time in between from when food comes from nature to us, that's the best way we can actually take nutrients.
In the yogic science, we say something beautiful. If you look at a lot of these ancient people, right, they won't, of course there's option to refrigerate, but they won't eat their food if it's like within 12 hours. They'll like pick something, go to the market, get something fresh, cook it, eat it. If it's 12 hours, they don't touch it, because they say that the energy of the food also deteriorates. So you can have something after, the more it extends, and that reminds me of this concept. the more time it takes, the more it's frozen, the more pesticides are on there, it loses the biological energy footprint that your body can absorb.
Interesting.
But again, we live in a modern society,
Yes.
right? This is not always possible, guys, but at least you can make the right choice of what is out there. You know, potato chips and all these things. It's also crazy because, you know, there is food scientists are given a budget of 65 million US dollars to just sit in a lab and figure out what combinations of food in, for example, a potato chip, carbohydrate, salt, fat,
Yes.
never available in nature.
Yes.
You can go through anything, there is never a combination like this available,
Yes.
because you mentioned this. And what it does is it excites the brain. This is novelty, this is huge calories. Our brain has evolved through millions of years, but we still look for this, like our brain still thinks we're back a million years ago.
Yes.
So it will take any opportunity to grab something which is high calorie.
Yes,
and
because it
something
makes us survive more easily. That's
Exactly.
why how in nature we used to find honey, and that was a perfect source for us to give us energy, quick energy that we could really easily use to, again, fly away
Yeah, you just go
and
hunt the
escape.
next thing.
Exactly.
And this is what I tell people. Don't ever think that you can have one or two pieces and leave it, because you are fighting against millions of years of evolution and a 65 million US dollar budget for food scientists to figure out what will trigger you. You're not
Yeah.
going to win that war. No matter what willpower you have, no matter how less decisions you've taken, no matter what level your mitochondria is working at, you're fighting against a mountain. You're not going to be able to move it.
It's a very interesting thing that you're saying now about how food scientists are transforming foods nowadays, because this is exactly the thing. We have, for example, fructose in nature, which is perfect and it gives us energy. It's not evil, it's not something that kills us, it's actually something that helps us thrive and give us energy. And again, okay, maybe a dopamine how is activator, because it gives us that feeling of satiation and happiness. But at the same time, in nature, we do have fructose in fruits, for example, and they are combined. Fructose in fruits is combined with fibers. So this is a very good way for our body to absorb it, exactly because fibers slow down the absorption process of fructose. But in processed foods nowadays, we have fructose on its own, with no fibers together. This is in all the overly processed carbohydrates, sandwiches, breads, donuts, sweets, ice creams. Fructose on its own is the most dangerous thing that our body simply cannot do anything with it. It does not give us energy. It does not give us. We cannot really make proper use of it, and this is how we have fructose nowadays available in most processed foods, and this is what we have to avoid.
I'll tell you something interesting. So you take a banana. Let's say you're making your favorite protein smoothie. You take a banana. It's a nice fresh banana. Maybe they've freshly harvested it. You put it into your NutriBullet or some other thing. You put a protein and you put all your everything, whatever people like. You blend it and you drink it. Your carbohydrate response, your blood sugar response will go over 65%.
Higher.
When in comparison to if you just ate that banana.
Yes.
So it's not even like industrial food. It's just
This is also,
you break it down.
Really appreciate what you're saying. Exactly when it comes to the whole question of smoothies and people saying, "Oh, but I drink smoothies every single day." Okay, so how are your smoothies? First of all, like, is it veggie smoothies or is it just fruit smoothies? If it's just fruit smoothies, you better eat your fruits whole, as they are.
I think veggie smoothies are very dangerous. You want to know why? Because fruits have fiber, right? What a lot of things that are used for veggie smoothies are kale. Some people would use collard greens, spinach. These are the common ones. And if I attack you right now or someone attacks you, you have your limbs to defend it, right? Animals are the same. They have their teeth. For millions of years, plants were the first thing that were on this planet before you, me, and all the animals. They don't have anything to defend themselves. The only thing that they have is something which is in every plant is different, but it's like a toxin. Okay? And what the plant does is every time a predator comes to eat it, they have intelligent networks and they start removing these toxins. Chances are, if a predator comes once and they eat the toxin, they feel really bad, they throw up, they will never come and use this plant again. And even if they eat the entire plant, they go and poop out somewhere else. With the right atmosphere, the offset of the plant gets a chance to rise again. But these are called anti-nutrients. The most dangerous way to consume an anti-nutrient, like these are some of the terms you might know. Kale has a lot of oxalic acid and phytic acid. And all of these things, like oxalic acid, are actually responsible for 80% of the kidney stones because it creates calcium oxalate crystals in the body. For women, there's a condition called vulvodynia, which is when you're having sex, it becomes very painful. A lot of urinary tract infection, all of these things happen because of these anti-nutrients. Traditionally, there were no smoothies. What we did in ancient communities was that we sprouted everything, we boiled everything for a long period of time, we soaked everything. These are some of the ways that you can get rid of the anti-nutrients. So when you think about bringing a fresh kale or fresh spinach, you put it into your blender, it has a lot of those anti-nutrients. The moment the plant is kind of dead, but it still has some intelligence. The moment it realizes that it's been cut and chopped, it's going to release more anti-nutrients. And sometimes what these anti-nutrients also do, which is crazy, is that it has protein inhibitors. So basically these are certain enzymes that block the absorption of certain other things. So if you're having like a high protein meal, chances are most of that protein will not be absorbed if you're also having a little bit of kale, like perfect thing, like a salad.
Yeah.
If that kale or that spinach is not being washed, soaked for a long time, and they've thrown out the water, washed it with vinegar to remove all the anti-nutrients. And there are many things. There's phytic acid, there's oxalates, there's saponins, there's goitrogens, which actually destroy hormones. So for me, I would tell anyone who's having a green smoothie, stop it. And in fact, like plants like kale, they're planted in fields, mostly on the highway. And their role in nature is to absorb all the toxins. So you have pollution going on, you have pesticides. What the kale is going to do, kale or like similar family, is actually going to absorb all the toxins from the soil and from the environment and concentrate it within the plant itself because it's a bioabsorbent. And then we put it in our smoothie and we drink it and we say, hey, I did my green smoothie. Those people are not the most healthiest. Those people always are in the gym. They're not able to lose weight. They're not able to build muscle. Why? Because it's not like they're not trying.
Yeah.
It's just that there are certain things in the environment which they weren't sure of. And
of course. Yeah. In this case, what would you suggest? To just not eat kale or other vegetables like this, or maybe cook them rather than have them on a raw state?
Yeah, raw is a very dangerous thing. Even spinach, it's very dangerous. What I would advise is boil them in water. Keep them in water for at least like 8 to 10 hours. If you have some of the other vegetables, if you have the option of soaking it, fermenting it, it's good. It's always good to buy organic. If you cannot, then make sure you soak it in vinegar for some time so it removes all the pesticides and then use it. If you feel that after having a certain vegetable, your body gets inflamed, you get a muffin top, something is wrong, then just try to remove it. This is why a lot of the carnivore diet enthusiasts, I did carnivore for a long time as well, they feel so good. It's not because of the meat. It's because they're avoiding all these irritating things which everyone told them was healthy. The kale was healthy, the Swiss chard was healthy, all of these things were healthy. They just removed that and their body starts thriving. Of course, then they run into other problems. But
exactly, if they have fiber lack and then
exactly.
Have enough. But yes, exactly.
So if anyone who's listening, make sure you traditionally like cook, boil, sprout, ferment. It's difficult to sprout and ferment, but even if you just boil it and you wash it, it's going to do much more better.
Amazing. Okay, let us move now to the topic of sleep. Do you feel, I don't know, your people, are they asking you different questions regarding that? And what would be your main suggestions into improving our sleep?
I'll start with the suggestions first. Sleep is pretty simple. Your brain is not able to shut off and sleep because of a few things. A, blue light. Okay, any light from your phone, any light from your environment, TV, street lights, all of these things, they trigger a part of the brain which doesn't allow the brain to relax. Blue light means our brain interprets it as sunlight. If you have sleep problems, go in the middle of a savanna next to a fire, all your sleep problems will go away. Go for 10 days and then without your phones, without anything, the only amount of light that you're having is a natural light that's coming from the sun, the moon, the stars, not the sun, but like the moon and the stars, and some natural camping light. Without any stimulation to your brain, you will start seeing that you're sleeping really fast. So why does this happen? Because A, there's no blue light, which is filled in our environment. If you wake up in the middle of the night and you wake up to go to the toilet, you switch on your table lamp, which is only 10 lux, you have a 50% reduction in melatonin levels. Melatonin is the hormone that makes us sleep. It's also an anti-cancer, anti-aging molecule. But just looking at that light for short periods of time is crazy. Imagine, and it's 10 lux. Sometimes your iPhone can be thousands of lux. Imagine when you look at that, game over. That's why a lot of people cannot sleep. Watching TV before bed, people cannot sleep. So try to avoid that. You can get blue light, and in all fairness, we were the first company in UAE that started looking into circadian rhythms, and we created our own blue light blocking technology. And so those are things available, but like simple, like installing red lights in your house, which increase melatonin levels, will help you sleep. I often tell people, don't stimulate your brain 2 hours before sleeping. Don't send that email, don't work, don't watch TV. Any information, any kind of information that is coming into your brain which is serious, you can talk about something to someone. That's not a lot of information. Digitally, physically, if information is coming in, it's going to be very hard for your brain to stop, because our brain loves.
Another sorry to interrupt. Another very interesting thing that is coming out to my mind is also the relationship with food at night. We should technically not be eating when it gets dark, because again, this triggers our increase of insulin resistance. So this is also a very good topic. Like if we really want to increase and improve our sleep, well, then at least 2-3 hours before bedtime, we should avoid that as well. And okay, it's always very nice to have my bucket of pistachio ice cream before I go to bed in the weekend. But I know that I can eat some protein or fats right before it if I want to, lower down my blood sugar response. Or I can eat it around 6-7 p.m. instead of 10-11 p.m. And of course, the response of the same type of food it's just gonna be different.
In 2018, when the first blood sugar monitors came across, continuous blood glucose monitors, I was doing this experiment, and I was eating the same meal at 5, at 6, at 7, multiple days. And what I saw was a 17 to 20% increase in my blood sugar, given most variables were the same. So what I'm trying to say is that, as Chiara mentioned, every time the sun is there in wherever you are, mostly let's talk about Dubai, 6, 7, it's a good time to finish your dinner, because you need at least 3 to 4 hours for your digestion to kind of lower down, and then you go to sleep. Because when you're sleeping, there's a very important process that happens, multiple processes. One of the most important processes that happens is lymphatic drainage. And this is where your brain cells, imagine this, your brain cells actually shrink by 60%. There is a fluid, like a cleaning fluid called cerebrospinal fluid. It goes through your brain and it detoxes your brain. This is like a free detox which is available for everyone, and you don't have to pay any money and you don't have to do anything. It happens every night. What causes a change in this detox? If you are full, because then the energy that is needed to detox your brain will go to your gut. So this is another thing that I was surprised by, so I thought I'd share. And again, blood glucose, very important.
Yes, exactly. Also, because again, it's not just the connection with sunlight. It's because during nighttime, our bodies naturally need to, and it naturally increases its melatonin production. So this effect is contradicted, is opposed if we are having foods that stimulate our insulin response.
And you know what's dangerous? Every time melatonin is up in your body, so melatonin has a 12-hour phase delay effect. So if you wake up at 6 a.m. and you see sunlight outside, that's the time where your melatonin receptors get a reset. And then they start getting activated at 6 p.m. right after 12 hours. So that's why waking up in the morning and looking at the bright light is very important, not just to wake up, but just to reset your melatonin levels. And then at 6 p.m., your melatonin levels start rising. When your melatonin levels are high, if you have 10 grams of sugar, let's say it would give you on a normal day like a 20% increase, it might give you a 60% increase. Every time melatonin, and this is really dangerous for people who are taking melatonin pills as well. If you have melatonin in your body which is rising, your blood sugar response is going to be 2x or 3x, even with the healthiest foods, is because melatonin, because naturally you're not supposed to have that blood sugar response. So when melatonin is elevated, don't have anything sugar. Yes. One exception to that is for highly trained athletes who do some fasting and sometimes they're not able to manage all of their calories, and they have problems with sleeping, is raw honey. Because when you take raw honey, it goes directly to the liver. It doesn't get metabolized so much by the gut, but it goes directly to the liver. And what it does is it powers up your brain in the night. This is only for very high trained athletes. If you're on low carb or keto, this is very, very important. A lot of people will wake up in the middle of the night at 2 or 3 and then they can't fall asleep.
Hypoglycemia.
Exactly. The blood sugar drops because there's no glycogen in the liver. You have 1 tablespoon of honey, it's enough to power you for the next 8 or 10 hours. Of course, have it before, but if you wake up in the middle of the night, that could be one alternative.
Exactly. So in this case, for people that suffer from hypoglycemia, then it is suggested to maybe have that small amount of carbohydrates before going to bed as their last meal of the day.
Even 3 hours before.
Exactly.
I mean, if you have your meal and then as a dessert just have some honey, it's also good. You don't have to have it right before sleeping, but it's a good idea if you're on low carb, keto, calorie restriction, and if you have that problem. A lot of people don't have this problem. If you're wondering why, another trick to this is glycine, because glycine can have similar effects on the brain. It also helps you. It's an amino acid molecule. It's very super interesting molecule. Like a lot of people say that it has anti-aging properties. And one of the things that it does is it lowers down body temperature and it allows you to sleep faster. So when we're sleeping in the night, naturally our body temperature has to go low. If you sleep in a hot room, this is going to counteract that, because even in Dubai, in the middle of the desert, in nighttime temperatures will go low. This is what our body knows as a memory. Every time your body temperature goes low in the night, you will feel more sleepy. Glycine reduces your body temperature, so you feel sleepy. You can be in a cold room and this can signal your brain that the body temperature is going down. Brain will start activating its sleep receptors. Other thing you can do is, we're actually working on this technology right now where we have like a mattress which flows with cold water that you can control. So even in like the summer, you can lie down on a mattress which is 16 degrees, and this initially gives your body this signal that, hey, it's time to sleep. Beautiful. Other simple things are, don't work in your bed. Don't do anything in your bed apart from having sex or sleeping, because those are the only 2 triggers that you want to associate with the bed. If you're living in like a smaller space, be as far as from the bed as possible. If you have the luxury and the privilege to have a 1-bedroom apartment, anything where you're not sleeping, don't use your bedroom for anything. Don't hang out there, don't chill there. You need to give your body that signal that every time I enter this room is for 1 or 2 things, and then your body responds, because your body is trainable, your mind is trainable. Reading before bed for 5 to 10 minutes, it lowers stress by 60%. So if you are 62%, if you're one of those people who are like stressed out, do some reading. Journaling does the same. I also do this.
Meditating or breath work
Meditating is
also
good.
before bedtime. Yes.
Yeah, there's Kelly McGonigal suggests a breath work which is 4-6-8. So inhale for 4, hold for 6, and exhale for 8. This activates the part of the nervous system that allows us to relax more, called the parasympathetic nervous system. If you cannot hold for 6, hold for 3. The main thing here is the exhale. Your exhale should be twice as long as your inhale. That's what does the trick. Another really interesting thing, Chiara, that I have found in the recent years is that even if you're not focused on a task that you have to do tomorrow, your brain is always going to be focusing on it, and that will not allow you to sleep. So what I do is I have this exercise called the brain dump, or the second brain exercise, where I have a notebook or notepad, anything, my laptop, and I will literally put everything that I have to do tomorrow in there, because that signals my brain that it's not going to forget anything, because your brain is always thinking there's something important to do, I might forget it, and then this is going to cause a lot of changes in your brain. You won't be able to sleep. So if you can just brain dump it, have a second brain somewhere.
Yes.
Your brain knows.
Yes, absolutely. The act of writing down before bedtime is great, really, for our brain to process it from a more subconscious level rather than conscious level. So it helps us to release from our current processing of things, at the same time memorize it better, because we have this physical act of writing down. At the same time, we can, fall asleep easier and maybe have our subconscious pattern elaborating it, and then wake up maybe sometimes with the solution also of whatever we're writing down. And sometimes this really helps as well.
They call it the Zeigarnik effect.
The Zeigarnik effect.
Yeah, so you work on something, and let's say you have to solve a problem, and you're just like, oh my god, I can't get inspiration or ideas. And most of the people, they'll give a long time block, maybe even days, to focus on one thing. But this Russian scientist, his name was Zeigarnik, and what he came up with the theory that every time, and this everyone knows about this, if you focus on something, you take a break, go do something else, your brain is going to have time to process that information. Your brain is going to have time to actually look at the alternatives and all the options from your subconscious level. You might not even be thinking about it. And then when you're taking a shower, when you're driving, when you're doing something, you have this aha moment that, why don't I try using this? Your brain has always been thinking about it. And this also brings me to this point that the amount of, like, if you have drama in your life, if you have a lot of politics in your life, if you're, sorry for my language, like bitching about people, and like you're making other people so much of a priority, all of these things are actually taking energy from your brain. So invest your energy, your time, your emotion, everything in things that are useful for you, and just ignore everything else. Because if you get lost in the noise, then it's going to be crazy, because your mind is not built for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. Let us jump to now anti-aging, longevity, and what are the latest remedies or tools or things that we're trying on ourselves to really enhance our lifespan. One thing that I recently heard, which is really interesting, is the use of hyperbaric chambers. And it's so interesting because maybe, again, we might not really know the effects or immediately after feel the beneficial effects of sitting in a hyperbaric chamber, but there's studies that are really showing how by just one session under a specific type of pressure, minimum I think 60 to 90 minutes, is really enhancing our stem cell production by 50%, which is a lot. And stem cell production from the bone marrow. So what does it mean? Is again improving our immune response, is improving our cognitive function, is improving our detoxification. So it's really helping us to think clearer as well and act clearer. So it's really supporting so many aspects in our life, and it's something beautiful that we can really make use of thanks to technology. So this is one. What's your thought on this, and what about other remedies?
Hyperbaric oxygen is very interesting because I interviewed Jason, I forget his last name, but he's the leader of Hyperbaric Oxygen Academy in the US. So they train all the hyperbaric experts. And I think about 2.5 years ago, we're still friends. We had an unbelievable conversation, and he was bringing up all of these facts, and I was like, wow, is that possible? Fast forward, in our center, we also have a center called Beyond Limits. We have hyperbaric oxygen therapy. And hyperbaric is super interesting because if you actually do a session for 60 to 90 minutes, you will feel it that night. Your sleep will be better. Like, you won't know, but there will be some part of you which will be, and the more unhealthier you are, you'll feel it faster. So hyperbaric is amazing. The current challenge with hyperbaric is that it operates on a dose dependent response. That means if you do one session, it's great, but if you could do 20 sessions, that would be better. The more distance you have, like let's say if I do one today and I do one next week, it would be better than not doing it at all. But the gold standard protocol for anti-aging and stem cell migration, the proliferation, satellite cell response, all of these things is if you do it every second day. And if you do it every second day for 20 or 40 sessions, which is one of the hardest things in life to do, you have to find a hyperbaric chamber. It's very expensive. You have to drive there. And literally, like some of the new ones, you won't get really, you can take your phone inside, you won't get bored. But the traditional ones where you're lying down, the one we have, it gets a bit boring sometimes because, an hour and a half, you can listen to podcasts, but you're not going to do it so much. There's really good research around cancer, around Alzheimer's, around dementia, around anti-aging. So in a nutshell, I love hyperbaric.
Yeah.
At our company, Biohacking, we're actually diving quite deep into it. We're designing 2 chambers, heart style chambers. One will be a chamber where you'll have a seat like this, and you can go, it's like a whole capsule. You can lie down, you can take your laptop, and you can actually get into that pressured environment. This is a much more comfortable, a lot of places now are offering this kind of hyperbaric treatment. So I'm really, really positive about it. I would highly encourage everyone to kind of look into it. The caveat is it's very expensive at the moment. It's not for the average person, but maybe in the next 3 years or 2 years, when more people talk about it, that's how the cell phone was. The cell phone was so expensive, the laptop was so expensive, but every time demand is simple economics. Every time the demand for something goes up, then the supply goes up and then the price crashes.
Down, exactly.
So over a period of time, I'm so happy. I'm super excited. I think every building should have an hyperbaric chamber.
Yes, exactly. So let's say we're kind of lucky because we live in our 30s. Yeah. So we're still kind of young, and we still have a good fraction of our lifetime by which all these new remedies are gonna be more cost affordable, but at the same time we're gonna be exposed to so many more that are really gonna support our life. And there's something that is really interesting that is called this longevity escape velocity, no? What does that mean? It's research is showing how we can improve by every year we live. We are increasing, science is increasing our lifespan by 1 year. And who was it the other day? I think it's Peter Diamandis that is saying that by 2030 we're able to reach that very easily. So now we're already very close to it, and we're living in maybe our most energetic time of our life. And I'm very curious to see if this is happening by the time they promise, how this is going to happen. But we are already seeing so many more things that we're using nowadays, and so much more discoveries done lately and studies that are coming out. So I really think there's so much more that is going to happen in the next 20 to 30 years.
Yeah, like we're in 2024, 25, 5 years more, and I completely agree with Peter's prediction. Actually, it was Ray Kurzweil who actually found this thing, and they were talking about this since the 2000s, early 2000s, that the longevity escape velocity will be a time for the listeners. Think of this as a treadmill. You start the treadmill at the speed of 1. Now the treadmill is going in front, and you take a few steps back. That's how aging is going to be. For every year that you move ahead in your life, science, and like we said, 73 days it takes for all the scientific information to be doubled. So science will be on a period where you will be able to get 1 year back because of all the advancements. It's basically like you're never going to they're talking about the science of immortality and things like this. I just think it's going to be super interesting, especially for people who are going to be born in this age. In the next 5 years, they will live forever.
Exactly. This is what's your view on this? About one thing is lengthening our lifespan, adding quantity to our life, and of course quality. One other thing is about living forever and immortality. What is your view on this?
Living forever has been, a lot of, when you look at like history books, every emperor, every king, every person has invested a lot of time, resources, gold, alchemists in this idea of living forever. So if people really think about it, if, a comet hits us or something happens, would you really want to be forever? So this is everyone's personal choice. I personally don't want to be here forever. But I would like to be functional in later years of my life, so much so that I have been given a responsibility by all my friends, because I'm so much into longevity. They're like, hey, listen, CJ, we're all going to die, but you have to take responsibility of our kids and our grandkids, because out of all of us, we think you're going to be alive. And then tell us later, what happened. So they always joke like this. And I always tell them hey, I want to be functional till whatever age. And because I'm really excited about the future. I'm excited about distributed wealth. I'm excited about big data, AI, us doing gene editing, lots of other facets of life, and all the new opportunities that are going to come. So it's not that I want to live for the sake of living. I want to live for the sake of experiencing.
Yes, and learning and
exactly
sharing and sharing.
Doing more podcasts.
Exactly. Wow, that's beautiful. I mean, we have already animals that are living much longer than us, and this is what they've been using and comparing, and this is why they're saying if animals are able to, and turtles are able to live over 200, 300 years, why are not we able to live this amount of time minimum? So I mean, it would be interesting. At the very end, time is also relative, so if we are able to experience an array of things nowadays, and we live up to 80, 90 years, and then we will be able to maybe live 200, 300 years. In the very end, yes, maybe we will be exposed to more time evolution and changes, but the very end, the type of experience we will be exposed is always kind of the same. So it really goes down to the way we choose to live our life, no?
You can experience everything today and be super happy and content.
Exactly.
I think a lot of people who are very we were talking a little bit on this topic offline, and we were saying, hey, time passes so fast these days, right?
Crazy.
But and this is a similar thing that you ask anyone, and everyone's always saying time's passing too fast. It's not really time that is passing too fast, but it's our attention which has become a commodity which we're losing.
Yes.
We were more present, we were more back in the day. Of course, our attention span is 3 seconds now.
Yes.
So I think that's one thing that we need to take into consideration, that attention is actually our biggest asset. And if you have the right attention, which takes you to the right amount of focus, there's no door in the universe that will not be open to you. Mm-hmm. You just have to look with the right amount of attention, with the right amount of focus, with the right amount of drive, and anything you want to do, anything would be possible.
This is beautiful. So it's then it makes sense to live life and more years by really taking attention and enjoying whatever we're doing, because we have to remember to be fully present, and this is what is gonna really add quality to our life. Otherwise, there's no difference in living 80, 90 years or 200, 300 years if you're living just with this speed of living.
And again, like we all need to, so there's a lot of the Stoic philosophers, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Aristotle, they talk about a concept called memento mori, which means in every moment you need to realize that you are just another mortal who can die tomorrow or today. Anything can happen in this building. I'm not saying that people should be scared about this, but it should be an empowerment tool for everyone who's listening that, hey, you might die tomorrow. Don't live a miserable life, because don't suffer your life. Your life can be challenging. You can give all kind of talks, but the seat of all experiences in life is within you.
Yeah.
It's not on the outside world. The outside world can stimulate it in certain ways, but how you experience your life is really comes from within. So you could, and in every moment, once you understand that in the end, all of these things are not going to matter. Like the science won't matter, the podcast won't matter, all of these things aren't going to matter because everyone's going to die anyway. But it's going to come. That's why I say, like, other people think other people die, but the moment you think about that, that's the time you kind of like say, oh, perfect, you know what, I might not be here forever, let me experience this magic of life. Because Albert Einstein said something very beautiful. He said, life is a miracle. It's up to you to be a part of that miracle or not.
Sure, it's beautiful. And I really love how we actually started this podcast very physically and pragmatically, and how we ended this podcast in a very philosophically and metaphysical way. It's beautiful. So I think I would want to wrap it up, but before wrapping it up, I want to ask you 3 main questions. And the first one is going to be, what would you tell your younger self after everything that you've learned so far, everything that you've experienced, the people you've talked to, and your work that you've been exposed to?
I would tell my younger self, your life is your karma. Your life is all the actions that you take. In every moment, you have a choice of stepping forward into growth or backward into safety. And this responsibility is all yours. So taking that action, it's not gonna, I used to think that, you know, heaven's gonna open up and things are gonna happen and I'm gonna win the lottery and all of these things. And you know what, I'm just born this way. I was taking all of those kind of negative talk. I grew up obese. I was bullied in school. I had a lot of self-confidence issues, a lot of self-esteem issues, and I let it be as they are. If I understood that I had the chance and I have a fair chance like anyone else in this universe to do something about it, and my actions in Hindu philosophy, we have a very interesting book, and over there's a saying. It says, you have the right to perform your duties, but you're not entitled to the fruits of your actions. So as long as you keep on doing whatever it takes, if the end works out, it works out. If it doesn't work out, but don't stop taking action, because only when you take the action, the universe takes action back. So I would tell myself this.
So beautiful. Thank you. Second question. What would you tell the next generation?
This is very complex because we don't really know the next generation, how with AI, what's going to happen. I would honestly, if let's say we don't know about all these technology advancements, I would just say be more conscious. Don't be the sheep. I think all of us have been programmed to be in the sheep mentality where we're always following pop culture, society, rules, regulations. Not to be a rebel, but like just ask yourself, are you just doing this because everyone else is doing it, or are you doing this because your inner self wants to do this? You can study astrophysics, you can do whatever the hell you want, not because your family or your society is kind of telling you to do it, but if you really want to do something and change the world, learn, get excited, whatever. But do something more, don't be the sheep.
Yes, beautiful. All right. Final question. Now it's just generally to everyone, the public here listening today. What is your life lesson that you would like to sum up in one sentence?
In one sentence, this is the show must go on. You will face a lot of things. This is like that's one line, but like the explanation to this is you're going to face challenges. You're going to do a lot of hard work. People are going to talk shit about you. People are not even going to notice you. And everyone's going to have an opinion whether you do something great or not. And your friends, your family, once you have enough resources, people are going to come for you. Everything's going to happen. And that's normal. It's been happening from the beginning of time. You're not the first one that is going to happen, but you're not going to be the last one. But the show must go on regardless of whatever happens. Be the best version of yourself. Get on stage, get in front of the movie camera, do whatever, and keep continuing. Don't sit, don't cry, don't complain.
Amazing, beautiful. Thank you so much for your time, and Guy as well. The show must go on.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Good, thank you. Good.
God. Yeah, amazing. Dude, I was having so much fun in this conversation.
Why are we always talking so long and it would never like it flows so easily?
There was a time that the timer.
What time is it? Because I couldn't even look at the time.
It's fine.
Yeah. Oh my goodness!
There was a time where this watch was vibrating. I was like, shut up. I'm like, I want to listen to her.
No.